Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Brian Stobie, and I'm the International Officer at the County Council. We're delighted that we have over 50 schools from all across the northeast of England who want to join us today to learn more about Diwali. And we have no one better placed to be able to help us understand this fantastic celebration than a very good friend of mine, Mrs. Veena Soni. I'm going to quickly pass over to Veena, and together we're going to discover lots of things that perhaps you don't know about Hinduism, or about the celebration of Diwali, or about the story of Sita and Rama. But hopefully by the end of this session, those are our learning objectives, that we're going to learn more about a different world religion. We're going to learn about Hinduism. We're going to be learning about a special celebration, the celebration of Diwali. We're going to learn a little bit about the story of Sita and Rama. And we're going to find out how Hindus in Britain and all the way across the world mark this special time with their families and with their friends. I know that many people have got lots and lots of questions that they would like to be asking of Veena, and to be able to do this, what I'm going to ask is that in your own schools, then you tell your teacher what your burning questions are and what you most want to have answered, whether it's, are there special foods that are eaten at Diwali? Are there special prayers that are said? What do you do in your home? What do children get gifts at this time of the year? Lots of things. I know that you'd be wanting to know. And as Veena continues with her presentation and speaking to us, you can ask your teacher to write these questions in the chat function, and I'll try to pick up as many of these questions in the course of our session today and then put them to Veena so that she can try to answer all of the things that you're thinking about and would like to have answers to. So the session today is going to run for around about an hour until we run out of all of your questions. And if I know many schools, I know just how many hundreds of questions you're going to have. So I'm going to pass to Veena. You'll see her face on the screen. You'll probably still be able to hear my voice. So rather than jumping backwards and forwards, you'll just hear me ask and put questions to Veena over the course of the next hour. Questions, as I say, in the chat, please, and we'll pick them up from there. So thank you very much, Mrs. Soni. Thank you for joining us. We know that you are currently with your family, but you've moved location in order to be with them for Diwali. Can you perhaps begin just by introducing yourself and telling us where you're from and where you are today? Veena, it's over to you. Can you? Oh, I think you're on mute, Veena. You need to unmute yourself. Sorry. There we are.
There we go. Hello everybody, and thank you for inviting me today to this session. I'm really looking forward to being able to talk to you and tell you a little bit about. Sorry, I just stopped for a minute because I think we're running a couple of seconds behind, so I was repeating.
We're good to go, Veena. It's simply that there's a little bit delay in what you see on the screen and when you're speaking. So if you're looking at the screen, it looks a little bit disjointed. But if you just carry on speaking, it's fine.
Okay. So I'll continue talking then. Hopefully everybody is sort of hearing not two sort of voices, just one. So I'm sorry about that. But lovely, thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm really looking forward to sharing with you um, all the sort of different sort of aspects of Diwali. I live in Newcastle and I'm a Hindu, and normally I would go to the Hindu temple on this. But the most important thing for me is that today I'm visiting my family here in London. So it's absolutely amazing because we're going to have a lovely time enjoying Diwali here with the family. Diwali is a family function, but it is the main function in the Hindu calendar. So for us, this is the most important time of the year, and it's the time when everybody gets together. So before we start, I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself, and then I want to tell you about Diwali, and I want to tell you then about how we're going to celebrate. I came to England when I was very young, and each year we've celebrated Diwali. Each year it's grown bigger and bigger, and so many people across the road have been celebrating. When we originally started, we would only be celebrating it with people living in your family or nearby. But now, of course, with the internet, we can celebrate it with people across the world, and we meet up with families or we talk to families all over the world to celebrate Diwali. Diwali is a really special function. It's a special event, an event where we talk and we remember all the different aspects of what's the celebration about. It lasts for 5 days, and most people think Diwali is just on the day of Diwali, but it isn't. It's for 5 days. On the first day of Diwali, we celebrate, it's called Dhanteras. And on that day of Dhanteras, it is considered that this is the birthday of Lord Lakshmi and Lord Dhanteras. Lord Lakshmi is considered to be the goddess of wealth, and you can see here, um, just show you maybe, that this is the goddess of wealth. So on this day, on the first day of Diwali, we celebrate the birthday of God, of Goddess Lakshmi. But alongside that, we also celebrate the birthday of Lord Dantras, who is the Lord of Health and making sure that you keep well and that you have a healthy life. So on those 2 days, it's a very special day. And on the first day, people generally go out and they buy something new. So on the first day of Diwali, we go out, and in India particularly, not that it happens in our house, but in India, people go and buy gold on that day. So a husband will buy something nice for his wife or for his children, or parents might give gifts. Other people who don't want to buy gold, they buy something new. So you might buy something new for the kitchen or something new for your house, something to celebrate the first day of Diwali. So on that day, everybody goes out and buys something new. In my house here in Newcastle, where I'm in London, where I'm celebrating with my children and my grandchildren, but then we each of us have bought something new for our houses so that we can bring it in and bring the Diwali celebrations to a start. So we bought, some people have bought a new sort of, I got some nice new pearls, you see. So for today, some people get rings, some might get a present, some might get other things. So on the first day is considered to be the birthday of Lakshmi and Lord Dantras. On the second day, we call that the small Diwali. Choti Diwali is what we call it. And on that day, everybody cleans their houses, makes sure everything's neat and tidy, visit friends, we go give presents to people, we go and buy lots of sweet stuff, and we give the sweet stuff to our friends, we go to their houses, and we deliver presents to everybody who is nearest and closest to us. Very similar to what you might do for Christmas. And it's a simple way you make sure that the house is decorated and everything is beautiful, and then you go and give gifts to your friends and relatives. We do that at Diwali. Also on that day, we start to get the house ready for the main function on Diwali, which is day 3. On the third day of Diwali, we wear our beautiful clothes. We make sure that we made lots and lots of different foods. All families get together and celebrate Diwali. And we, not only by doing puja and prayers, which is what we have on the day. So as you can see, all this we've got ready for puja. So we have prayers and we pray to Lord with the goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, praying that we all keep well and that we all have enough money to be able to live and have a roof over our heads, and also that there's food on the table, clothes on them. Alongside that, we also celebrate Diwali by praying to Lord Ganesh, because Lord Ganesh, of course, is the remover of all obstacles. Many of you may have heard of this, of Lord Ganesh at school, and your people may have told you stories about Lord Ganesh and how he got the elephant's head. Lord Ganesh is the remover of all problems and all obstacles. Which means that in the morning, when people get up, they normally pray to Lord Ganesh, or alongside that, people who go and do exams or doing celebrations or anything that we do, the first thing we do is to pray to Lord Ganesh to remove any problems or any obstacles. Then we're praying to the goddess Lakshmi. But of course, the biggest celebration is Rama and Sita. And many of you may have heard the story of Rama and Sita. So in the school Rama, I'm sure you already know, but if I tell you a little bit about the story, and if I tell you a little bit about why we consider this to be important, and what the moral is of the story, and what we find it teaches, you know that Lord Rama, that there was a king, and the king had 4 sons, and the 4 sons consisted of Rama, Lakshman, Bharat, and Sura. And they were very, very sensible, very sort of honest, very good princes. And then the Lord Rama, who was the eldest, got married to, to Sita. After they were married, they had 3. So the queen, the youngest queen, decided that actually she wanted her son to be the king. She didn't want Lord Rama, who was actually the eldest, to become the king, but she wanted the youngest, her son, to be the king. So she remembered back and she thought, I remember there was a time when the king said to me, I will grant you some wishes, and you can have them at any time you want to, and whatever they are, I will fulfill those wishes. She decided then to the king and say, I know that you're thinking of making Rama your next king, but we don't want him. I don't want him. I want my son to become the king, Bharat. And so the king was really upset because if he wanted his eldest son to become the next king. But then she said, remember, you promised that you could do any wish that I wanted. My wish is that my son becomes a king, but alongside that, that Lord Rama, the king, the Prince Rama, is sent out into the forest for 14 years. Well, you can imagine the king was feeling absolutely awful. My gosh, what can I do? On one side, I have the princess. On one side, I to her and promised her that she can have any wish and I'll fulfill it. And on the other side, I want Rama to be the next king. She had no choice. He had no choice at all. And he said, Rama. And Sita said, if you are going, my husband, I'll go with you. And the second son actually went with him. So the 3 of them went into the forest for 14 years. But alongside that, the youngest son, when he found out, he said, I don't want to be the king because Rama's the eldest, he's the king. He should be the next king, not me, the youngest. And for that reason, he decided to go and ask Rama to come back. But Rama said, no, My father had said that I have to do this, so I must do this. And they went away for 14 years. But all the time he was away, whereas took his shoes and said, while you are away, these shoes lie on the throne instead of you, and I will only look after the country for you, and I will not be the king. So God, Sita went into the forest. But what they didn't know was that there was this evil king called Ra who was wandering and looking for someone to see. When he saw Sita, he had enough of her. He said, I want this girl. I want this woman. And even though she was married, and she said, no, I'm married to Rama and I don't want anything to do with you. One day, he came while they were away and he took her and kidnapped her away to a place which was his palace, which is still Lanka now, but used to be called Lanka at that time. And if you go today, you can see the bridge that went. So he took them to Lanka, and of course, when Rama came and saw that Sita was not there, and he was devastated, and he went all over the forest to look for her. While he was looking for her, he met Hanuman, and he asked Hanuman to help him find Sita. So for many, many years they were looking and eventually find Sita and they built a bridge to cross from India into Lanka, and then there is a big war. And during the fighting, the Ravan is killed and Sita is brought back home. There is a special festival called Dussehra, which takes place 10 days before Diwali, on which, just like in bonfire, you burn burn guy hooks. We burn effigies of Ravan on that day on big bonfire, exactly the same as with guy. So on that day, Ravan is burned. When Rajan is after that, they get Sita and they decide that the 14 years are up, so they decide to go back to Ayodhya where they from. And it takes 10 days to get in the forest back into Ayodhya. But of course, meanwhile, everybody is so excited and they're thinking, oh my gosh, Rama's coming back and he's Sita and Lakshmana. And they all clean their houses, they all have beautiful clothes, they all decorate their houses with rangoli patterns. And here's just a small rangoli pattern like there that I put in my hotel. We have big ones which we've drawn in front of our we've already drawn in front of the doors ready for the Diwali. And Anna's coming home. As they're coming home, it starts to get really dark. So then they like all these divas to make light and make it really, really as though it's daytime, so that when Ram comes, there's lots of light. These are some of the divas that we use in our houses. There's, we've got tomorrow, I'll put a little oil in there and we light all these divas all across our house and in outside the front door and the back door, we're putting all the divas out. And then eventually Rama comes home for the next king, but alongside that, there's music, there's dancing, everyone's wearing beautiful clothes, they're all eating lovely food, and they celebrate Diwali to Rama coming home. But Diwali is not just about a celebration of Rama coming home. It's about good over evil. And it's about the fact that Rama got rid of Ravan, who was a very, very evil king, and who used to always talk to others and help them he ruled everything. So it's good over evil. And the reason we like evil also is that it's telling us to get rid of the evil out of our minds and out of our homes and put good in place of it. It's about winning of righteousness, the winning of good over people who do things that are wrong. So it's a very, very special time, not just for the celebration, but also to remember the things that you've done wrong and think, I don't want to do this again, and I'm only doing good, not bad things. Again, it's a picture of Rama and Sita, and you'll probably see one later on as well. But there's Rama, so you will see that there's Sita, there's Rama, there's Lakshman, and we've got Hanumanji.
Veena, could
Yes.
I perhaps ask if you could come in front of the pictures of the gods? We're having a little bit of issue with some of the sound. It seems a little bit echoey, and perhaps if you come closer to the PC, it would be best. And just while Veena is moving back into position, remember, if you have questions that you wish to put to Mrs. Soni, if you type those in the chat, that would be fantastic, and we can begin to answer some of those questions.
Is this better? Is the sound better?
Yes.
Yeah. So we've had a look at that, but it's about good over evil. It's about winning and remembering the family, remembering your friends, and remembering that we are all there to support one another, help one another. And that's the most important thing to remember Diwali. So in all the temples throughout the world on this day, not only are people celebrating it in their homes, they will also go to the temples, will also have prayers in their homes. And you will find in Newcastle Temple, for example, there will be 1,000 people going through those doors on the day of Diwali. And every one of them will be coming and lighting diyas like this and leaving them at the front entrance of the gods. And then alongside that, in every temple this is, throughout the world this will be. And alongside that, they will be having prayers at their home with their family and celebrating Diwali. And we'll have good, etc. And then we have lots of fireworks outside and enjoy ourselves as though it was something that you would do at Christmas, very simple. Alongside this, then on the fourth day of Diwali, it's actually the start of a new year for us. And in our calendars, the new year starts on the fourth day of Diwali. And on this particular day, families get together. If those people have businesses start, then the books are signed, everything starts new, all accounts are closed, and people light leaders in their workplace to start a new year off. And on that day, again, families get together to say, this is the beginning of a new year. So we have to remember, keep close together and support and help one another. So there's a story of Krishna on that day, that on that day, he actually saved the world from evil people, and with his one finger, he was able to save the whole of the world from these people. And again, that's quite a story, and I don't really go into the story of that, but basically there are stories that go alongside something you might want in your home, and you might be able to share with your children in the classroom. So that's the fourth day. And on the fifth day, which again, girls find it really enjoyable to have it, because on the fifth day, it's called Bhai Dooj. And Bhai means brother, and Dooj means getting together. So on that day, brothers and sisters get together, and they promise each other to support and help one another and always be there for one another. So on that day, in my family, I have two boys and a daughter. My daughter thinks it's absolutely wonderful, because on that day, she will go and she'll put a red mark on the forehead of her brothers, and she'll tie a string on their wrist. Remind them that for the rest of the year, they need to remember that if ever their sister needs any help or intervention, that she's there on her own, they are there to support her. And that thing will always be there for the whole year for them. And it'll always remind them of the closeness of families, brothers and sisters. And then in return, they give a gift to their sister, and their sister will give them some form of gift as well, just really out of love and affection. But it's a good way of also remembering and bringing families together and reminding siblings that they're there for each other, to help one another and support one another. It's a very, very important time again. So on the whole 5 days, families like to get together and celebrate Diwali together. In my house, you see my grandchildren are all excited. They've got new dresses, new clothes that they to wear. We've been cooking lots and lots of different things. And I've just brought some. These I didn't cook, but I brought just to show you the kind of things that we would cook. And so they would be eating. We have lots of food stuff that we will be eating. We'll have lots of music and dancing and fireworks, and we'll be enjoying in many, many different ways. So Diwali is a very, very important time for us, and you might, as you're walking home, or you might see on television, or maybe when you're driving with your parents, you might see fireworks, or you might see that there are lots of candles outside someone's door, or you'll see tears, and you'll remember that this is because it's Diwali, and maybe there's something living in that house, and maybe that's why they're celebrating it. And I think that before, so maybe there might be some questions and then answer some at the same time. Show you another. This is another one of the rangolis that we use at prayers. And little feet. And this is when Lakshmi, on the day of Diwali, they say that Lakshmi comes to every single home in where there is a Hindu. So we always put little footprints so that Lakshmi can come to our house. And of course, Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth. So we want to make sure inviting her to our house so that she can look after us for the next year. Any questions?
I think we have some issues, Veena, with attendees. We've got lots of schools joining us, but the chat function for some reason is not working for our schools. I've just had a message from Catchgate Primary School to say that they're unable to post questions on live Teams chat. So we apologise for this, but there seems to be some issue with Microsoft today. So I'm really sorry if you're desperate to ask some questions.
I don't mind seeing.
But perhaps teachers, you could send me a short email to brian.stobie@durham.gov.uk with your questions in there. Do apologise that we're not able to, for some reason, join the chat function. I've tried many different things inside the setup, and we cannot seem to be able to engage with that. So I know that certainly Mrs. Schofield at Catchgate Primary School, you have questions for us, and I very much hope that you'll be able to put them to you. One of the questions I had for you, Veena, was that I know that your granddaughter Maya is with you today. What is it that Maya looks forward to most about Diwali? Because when I ask children here about what they are looking forward to for some of the Christian festivals, it's always about presents and food and family time. So what is it that Maya's most looking forward to?
Yes. Well, it's really interesting this because, of course, my grandchildren were born, well, my children were born and brought up here. So everything that they have for Diwali is what they learned here in this country. And again, with grandchildren. So I have two granddaughters, and one's 8 and one's 5. And they love it because they have Diwali and then they have Christmas. So they've actually got twice as much as, sort of course. So that when they're celebrating Diwali, most important. So as soon as we have arrived, they know it's Diwali now, and so they're over the moon. So they love the fact that all the family gets together. We enjoy them, especially when you find that we're living in Newcastle and other sort of brothers sisters. So My other children will all come together as well. So it's not just about them meeting their grandma and granddad, but they'll meet their uncle and aunties, and we'll all get together and we'll all celebrate together. So for them, the most important thing is the fact that the family has got together and we're going to celebrate. Now, all morning they have been already saying, Grandma, tell us a story of Ram and Sita. Tell us a story of what happens. How do we celebrate? So they're just as excited as I would imagine children in your class who are thinking, what is Diwali? How are we celebrating? So they love knowing. So I always tell them the story of Diwali. We always talk. She and our Maya has just sat with us, and we've got it all ready for the prayers later on. So later on this evening, when Dad comes home from work, we'll all sit together and we'll have prayers together. And of course, what they love more than anything is that they can dress up. And believe it or not, because every day they're just wearing their legs and tops and all this kind of. But on these special days, they're able to wear their Indian outfits and dress up in their Indian outfit. They can wear all their bangles, they can all put their bindis on. And so for them, this is like really special because it's a time when they can have all the Indian stuff. And it's interesting for me because the children are born and brought up here. So that when my granddaughter, the 5-year-old, turned around and said to me, come on, this is an Indian festival and we're Indian, so we're going to celebrate it together. And I said, yes, you are going to celebrate it together. And she thinks it's fabulous because I'm Indian and this is an Indian festival. So she likes to dress in her Indian clothes and eat Indian food and do Indian prayers. And she feels that they're part of a culture. And more than even a religion, more part of a culture and how we celebrate. And she's got all the, we've got fireworks for tomorrow night, and they're going to celebrate. They're going to make mendi on their hands for the henna pattern. So when it's gone a little bit off there, so we have had it already. And we'll put it on again tomorrow. So lots of lovely things for young people. And it's nice to see this culture being taken forward to our grandchildren.
Okay, Veena, we've got some questions now from Mrs. Schofield at Catchgate with her Year 1 class, and also from Mrs. Ribchester at St Oswald's School in Durham. And we have questions from many questions from the Year 4s at Stevenson Way Primary School and from Miss Taylor. And we've talked a little bit about some of the clothes which the children wear, traditional Indian clothes. So perhaps you could tell us a little bit about the type of clothing which both boys and girls would wear at this particular time of the year. And then we had lots of questions about what is the favourite food of your grandchildren at this time of the year. And a very good question from Miss Taylor's class in Stevenson Way, asking, why is it called Diwali?
Right, that's very, very interesting. I'll start with why it's called Diwali, because Diwali means Diya Valley. So it's a time when we put the diyas on, and that's why we call it Diwali. So the moral behind it is about good over evil and righteousness over doing wrong things, I would say. But the actual name is not Diwali, it's actually called Deepavali. The name of this function is Deepavali. And Deepavali means deep, which means lighting candles or lighting diyas, and Vali. So it's a time when we light candles. And if you think about it, the other sort of way of thinking is if you're sitting in a dark room, you have dark thoughts, and there is that feeling of fear and darkness. Once you just even light one candle, then all of a sudden it becomes light and you can see some positiveness and it makes you feel better and you're not as frightened. And it's about getting rid of that evil and having light there to show the light, show the way forward. So there's lots of examples used like that, which makes us think about it. And this is called Deepavali. In India, we don't call Diwali, we call it Deepavali. Here we call it Diwali. But you'll see both when you look on the internet. So that's one. But with clothes are concerned, there are so many different kinds of clothes people wear. For girls especially, because girls will be wearing like suits like this, and I'm trying to think how I can maybe show, maybe come over way. But so we wear nice clothes, we wear nice jewelry, we wear salwar kameez, which is like the trousers with the top on, lots and lots of embroideries on, and lots of jewelry that we wear on the day. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just gold, it can be whatever, but you really dress yourself up on the Deepavali. And for young children, so my children have got a skirt, so they've got a long. It's called a lehenga. That's what we call them. And I've got a whole load of lehengas in Newcastle, which I use with young people. So if you want any in your classroom, you're more than welcome. I might give Brian a whole load of them. So if anyone wants to use them, they can borrow them from your office and so that might be something we can do. But there are lots of different. There is the salwar piece, the trouser, but there's also like in fashion this there are the long skirts with the long dresses on top. That's very much in fashion. Or the long skirts with little tops and the dupattas to go with them. And so there are lots of different kinds of, but all of them are very, very bright colors. They're always decorated with lots and lots of embroidery. For boys particularly, they wear pajamas, which is very much around and very decorated. So they wear trousers with like a long top that goes and a waistcoat that goes on top of it. And the waistcoats are made out of silk or they'll be decorated and lots of different kinds you could see. And if you go to the internet, we see lots and lots of different designs in them. But again, I'm going to get some and give them to Brian for you. So if any school ever wants to try, bring them in, take them into the classroom and so on. So that might be something that we can do and I'll take forward.
I'm sure that the children would love to be able to try on some traditional clothing, and if schools which are taking part today would like us to loan you some clothing, then if you drop me an email after the session, we'll try to organize that for you. And back to food, because I know that another 2 or 3 schools have all said, you know, one, do you like making the food for the festival? What's the name of your favorite food during this festival? What do your grandchildren like most about this festival? And how many dishes do you sit down and eat in one time during the Diwali festival?
They do. In fact, you're absolutely right because we make lots and lots of dishes. So normally what happens is that we have already started cooking and we will be making all the sweet things that I have shown you. And a lot of these sweet things are made out of milk. So if we were to talk about something like this, so that's just literally milk and sugar and lots of cardamoms, lots of almonds, lots of cashew nut, all made into that. And this is my granddaughter's favorite. She loves to have the perfect. And sometimes we decorate them with a silver covering, like that one. That's there. You see, as soon as she hears the word that we've got this, she's come into the room saying, I'll have some, Grandma, if you've got it ready. All ready. She's got it. Then sometimes we decorate it with chocolate on the top. Sometimes we make it differently and we make it with colouring in, so different colours and different shapes. And sometimes we make the laddus. So we will be making all of these this evening, ready for tomorrow morning for the grandchildren to eat. And look at her, as soon as she hears that it's available, she is ready to eat now already. So which one's your favourite? Tell the schools which one do you like? Yeah. Yeah. This is what she's saying. Grandma, can I take it now and I'll eat it now? So there you are, they love them. And tomorrow we're going to make, we normally make about 20 to 30 different dishes for the children. So we'll be having to cook a lot today and tomorrow morning. And there are lots and lots of different. So one of their favorite is cheese and peas, and it's a curry made out of cheese. And we make bhaturas, which are made out of mixture flour and some wheat flour and plain flour, and then we fry it. So they're about that big, all of them, and a lovely fluffy and something that's their favorite. Then we're making chickpea. So tomorrow we're making chickpea curry. We're making cheese and curry. We're making red bean curry. We're also making okra, which is like these fingers. And we're going to use aubergine and make 3 different kinds of curries out of aubergine. And then we're also making a number of other dishes, which I know you would all love to share. And I wish I could invite all of you to come and share with me, because I know they're looking forward to it.
It sounds delicious, and you're making me feel very hungry. But one of the other questions that one of the children has put is, at Christmas time in Britain, we have our Christmas tree, and you've shown us the diva, the little oil burning candles, and you've shown us some rangoli patterns. But why are there so many sort of flower themed decorations, and are there other particular decorations that you would put in your house, and when do you put them in your house? Because here already I've seen my first Christmas tree in someone's window, and it's just the start of November. So when do Hindu families begin to start to decorate their house for Deepavali?
In our case, what we do is we don't have a Christmas tree as such, but we do a lot of decorations. And flowers are very, very important in India, especially because here you can get them a lot easier. There's a lot more flowers around. But alongside that, the lily is considered to be very auspicious. And the lotus flower is the emblem of India and is used a lot. So you see a lot of the designs are lotus designs that you will see. And how we decorate it, when you go to an Indian, and again, if you look, you will see, and I'll send some pictures to you of all the different kinds of decorations which you can share with the schools. And what happens is, outside the house, you put a big rangoli. So you can't do that in the UK, but in India, at the entrance, outside people's houses, they do big rangoli patterns. We do them inside the house because we feel that it could be pouring with rain and there'll be a week before we know it. So we draw them inside the house. But outside, we have these decorations which we put at the entrance of the door. And they're all lots of flowers and they're garlands that are sort of decorated at the beginning, at the front of the house. Then we put the diyas underneath. And then when you walk in, you get the big rangoli patterns that are already there to decorate. So that's how we. So you know it's Diwali when you say all these decorations hanging up, and you think, oh, yes, you know that's Diwali in that house because they've got this outside. But they don't have a Christmas tree as such. Lots and lots of flowers, as you've noticed. You're quite right, everywhere, and all these the deities that we have little garlands made for them, and when we put them on the deity when we do prayers. And again, they're all made out of flowers when we put on. Both flowers play a very, very big part in our prayers, but also in the fact that when we're doing, not only just in our prayers, but in the actual celebration. And when we go to people's houses, we don't give as much things like clothes or toys. In fact, very rarely you give toys at Diwali. What we do is you give a lot of books to pick up food hampers and take them as presents. So they give the ties as presents, so they give that kind of, but they don't give toys that only we would give to our, like grandchildren or children. But majority of people don't even give in toys, things like that for presents. Instead, they like to give food stuff. And people make small hampers and take them as gifts.
Thank you. We had some questions also here from Silvertree Primary School in Ushamoor, and the children at Silvertree wanted to know if, in with their knowledge of Christmas, is that Christmas is on the 25th of December every year, but Easter changes. Does Diwali change its day every year?
Yes. So what happens is Diwali depends. In fact, all of our celebration, we don't have any celebration which is exactly on this day. And you're absolutely right. Christmas is 25th of December, and you know that. But where our celebrations are, they all are dependent on the moon. And then because of the moon, as it changes, the festivals change each year. So any festival that we have will change in date each year. So Diwali actually is on a different day every single year. So this year it's this time, but sometimes it could be in October, and sometimes it could be much later in November. And the other thing which is interesting is because normally you have a set date for Christmas. The other thing is you always have set food in a way because you always say, okay, it's Christmas, we're going to have turkey, we're going to have roast potatoes, we're going to have this. But we don't have that neither. We have not a set date. We don't even have a set that this is the most important or that we have to eat this because it's Diwali. That's not our. It's about what you like and how you like. And of course, originally people were all vegetarians in India and they didn't eat any non-veg food. Of course, now people eat a lot more non-veg than they used to. So therefore, the diet has changed as well. And we don't put any. So when we do our prayers and that, we only use vegetarian food. We would not use any form of. So when the actual prayers take place, everything is vegetarian. But later on, when people are having their dinners, their meals, and so on, they can have non-veg food after that. But they wouldn't have the non-veg before they've done their prayers. They may have it after their prayers.
Thank you. Another question, also from Silvertree Primary School, is that there are Hindus living in every country in the world, many, many, many Hindus across the whole of the world. Will they all be celebrating Diwali tomorrow?
Absolutely. Every single Hindu across the world. But the interesting also thing is that each year they always put out a picture taken from above, and I can't remember to be honest who, but we often get it sent. So if I receive a copy, I will send it to yourself. And it shows all the diyas on outside people's home. So from above, there is a picture taken, and across the world, you see these lights all over, and it actually shows you how diyas are lit across the world, and where, in which country, so many diyas are lit. And if you look at India, of course, it's all covered with lights. So you see the little lights, so that all these diyas are lit, and across the world as well. So yes, there's everyone across the world will celebrate. And tomorrow, you'll be lucky if you can get a phone to do a WhatsApp call to anyone, because everyone's bringing their families across the world and saying Happy Diwali and talking about it and saying, what are you doing today, where are you going, etc. So yes, across the world, every single person will be celebrating Diwali.
Another question that some schools have put to us is this a particular celebration for children and young people, or do children and young people look forward to a different Hindu celebration, or is this the most important one for them?
This is the most important celebration for everyone, and more for young people, I think, than really the adults themselves, because this is the time when they all are getting something new. They're all, sort of being given lots and lots of different kinds of gifts. There's all the fireworks that go on within the house. The whole house is celebrating. And in ours, just like here, I suppose, when I'm thinking when we put the Christmas tree up, the whole family gets involved in putting the Christmas tree up. We, in the same way, the whole family gets involved in putting up in doing the rangoli patterns, in diyas out, in setting out the prayer tables, in preparing the food, everything we do. And you're laughing and you're joking and you're carrying on and that's what it's all about, the family getting together and enjoying and remembering that we are together as a family and doing things together. And I think it's a lovely way of embedding that family, because in this day and age, people work all over the world and they go and they live in different cities. And it's only at times like this where everyone can get together and actually enjoy time as a family. And it's so important in our culture to have that family structure, for families to be strong and together. And I think this is one of those celebrations where you'll find the majority of people, as if possible, want to be together as a family. So as much as possible, they do try to get together as a family. And the kids, absolutely, I mean, for them, it's amazing because they get everything that they need or what they want or what they want to do, all their favorite food, their favorite clothes, their favorite, having fireworks, everything. So it's wonderful for them.
So it's fantastic to think that, we have this religious observance, but then everybody gets to wear their best clothes, eat their most favorite food, you get presents, you have fireworks, you have all of your family. It's a bit like bonfire night, come Christmas, come sort of Easter egg time, all rolled into one huge celebration. But nonetheless, it has a religious observance at its heart. And a question from one of the schools is, how many times over the course of Diwali will the family gather in prayer? Because we're using the celebration of Christmas as a comparison, and quite often people may go to church once over the Christmas period. How often would Hindus sit together and pray in front of their gods and goddesses over the celebration time?
Well, we will definitely once, all of us, in fact, we've just been sort of once all together, we will pray together, because that is the most important value, to have at least one family prayer time together. So we will have that. And if possible, we try to go to a temple and give prayers there at least once, because again, it all depends on how. In India, it's easy, and everybody would be going every single day because there's a temple all over and you can go. But here, it's a lot different. So I'm in London at the minute, and we've just been talking which is the nearest temple we can go to say our prayers and to light our diyas there. And the other side, of course, is also there are, with COVID this year, we're a little bit more careful because we don't want too many people crowding together into it. So not as many people are getting together. But previously, I've often had events where I've had young people performing the story of Diwali the day before Diwali itself. So they do a day on the story of Diwali, and they've all taken part. So we do that the day before. And on Diwali day itself, could be, as I say, at least 500 people sitting together at the Hindu temple in Newcastle, and others who are coming and going because they sort of want to come and say their prayers at the temple, then go home also and say their prayers at home with their family. So all families do come and leave at the same time, and the same. But in this day and age, with the COVID situation, we're not asking people to sit together, for not as many people to sit together. I think people are a lot more conscious now as well and don't want to be with large crowds in temples. So they go and they say their prayers and leave. But definitely we will be praying. And if we didn't, now last year with it being COVID, we couldn't get together for Diwali. And what we did was we actually had a Zoom call and we had the prayers, but all together in our own homes. We did our prayers, but together with the priests saying prayers to us and all of us now. So it's however we can try and get together as a family.
Thank you, Veena. I mean, I know that we've got lots of questions from lots of schools. If anybody else wants to put one or two last questions to Veena, remember you can do that by sending it to my email address, as we seem to have lost the chat function on this Teams call. And it's Brian with an I .stobie STOBIE at durham.gov.uk. And what are this week is also half-term week, we understand, for Maya. So she's very fortunate. She has this half-term week when she's also ready to have Diwali. But what is it like sometimes for young Hindus when they don't have time off school? Are they allowed to stay off school and have extra holidays, or must they still go to school?
Well, that's really interesting question, Brian, because with being in London this time, like you say, she's lucky that this week is half term for her, and therefore for the she'll be able to celebrate Diwali sort of properly, because now she'll sort of like today she's been sort of helping with cooking, and tomorrow will be doing and all this lot. So she's actually having both of them having a lovely time actually being part of Diwali. But what I have found, and we've just been talking, a lot of the schools here in London, and I'm sure in other areas where there are large sort of numbers of Hindus living, they actually have a day off today, or they give their children a day off for Diwali, so that they're able to have that day off and celebrate it with their family and friends at home. Whereas I find that in Newcastle, certainly all the years I was teaching, and I'm sure it will be in Durham, it'll be really dependent on the head teacher, isn't it, if they can have a day off or not, or whether the children feel that we can't have a day off and we have to come to school, and sort of, so our coming to school and not being able then to enjoy it as much as they would like to. But certainly in London, you find a lot of schools automatically give children the day off for Diwali and say this is your special day, so you have it.
Maybe we can have a new thing that says, okay, we in County Durham like to celebrate all religions, so can we have a day off for Ramadan and a day off for Diwali and a day off for Christmas as well? And that would be lovely. We have a question from some children at Crook Primary School who've also asked, how do you celebrate Lord Brahma's birthday?
Now that's interesting because, as you know, the Hindu believes in the Trimurti, which is that there is Brahma, Vishnu. So you've got Lord Brahma, you've got Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva. Lord Brahma is the beginning, so he begins life when people are born. Lord Vishnu is the preserver, so throughout your life, he is the person and who is looking after you. And therefore, the people, when we pray to actually Lord Vishnu, who has been born as Rama and Sita and a number of other forms previous to Krishna. The last form was Lord Krishna. And again, there is evidence of this. If you go back to India, you can see where Lord Krishna used to live. You can see where Lord Rama used to live. You can still see the bridge which they had to build when they went to get Sita. So there's a lot of evidence around that shows this. But it's only because for where Lord Brahma is concerned, there is only one temple in the whole of India that is for Lord Brahma. And that's only one. And therefore, you don't actually celebrate a birthday of Lord Brahma because they say Lord Brahma always existed and therefore was perfect. And there is very rarely a celebration for what we do celebrate is always actually Lord Vishnu's birthday. And we celebrate Lord Shiva, which is the destroyer. So the circle of born, the preserver, and then the destroyer. So there's the originator or the person who's born, and then so we don't actually have a day when we celebrate the birthday of Lord Brahma.
Thank you very much, Veena. I'm just checking through to see if we have any other questions that have come in the meantime. We have another question from Year 3 pupils at Crook Primary School asking, for how many years has Diwali been celebrated?
Now that's interesting because what we know is that there is no beginning to Hinduism. So Hinduism was a way of life, and therefore Diwali has been celebrated since Rama and Sita has been in existence. So since Rama was born and Rama came into existence, then since then, that is when we've started celebrating. So there, you've got a picture of the light starts to, okay. So we normally get this sent as well to us, telling us there's already all over the world. That's quite interesting.
Okay, and we have some more questions from the OWL class at Woodland School, and the OWL class are wanting some help and advice. They say they're about to make dia lamps and wondered if you have any suggestions about patterns or colours, and they're also going to be doing some of their own Rangoli patterns, and they wondered what works best, coloured rice, sand or paint powder? What works the best?
Right. So divas are always in bright color. I showed you that one. So you see how they've decorated it in the there. So you see how they decorate it, but always they are bright colors, and they always have lots of sequences. See lots of sequences and different colors on the out, and a lot of the colors that you see in flowers, because it's always bright. If you look at Hinduism, it's really interesting. Even if you go to a temple, you will see that there are lots and lots of reds and yellows and golds and bright blues. They're the kind of colors they use. In some places, for example, if you go to a church, and it's just a way of. So if you went to the church, or if you go to the mosque, or if you go to a synagogue, you will find that it's very quiet. You'll find that it's very plain, a lot of the greys and the more sort of subtle colors. But when you go to the temple, it's a totally different. You're talking more about bright reds and, as I say, the very bright colors. And everywhere, as soon as you walk in, they'll have music, they'll have singing on. So the prayers being said, songs being sung. And if you go in the smell, it's like it's a very one of these religious feel rather than just something that you put into this. And they have the incense stick that you can smell, and again, lovely smells of the incense stick. You have the ears, so you can see and feel happy so when you walk into a temple, you actually feel very, very happy. So the colors that you want on your DS are bright colors that make you feel happy. And bright colors like reds really are good, greens are good, and blues are good, with lots of gold. They're the main colors that we like to use. And I would encourage you to use the blues, the greens, the golds, the reds as well. The lighter colors you find are more difficult to cover. I think it's clear DS you'll be making, so they might be a little more difficult to cover the DS.
And as far as the Rangoli patterns are concerned, I know that I went with artist Jaimini to Cleves Cross Primary School, and she used ground rice, which she coloured with food colouring, and used that to create her Rangoli patterns. And it's very, very fine, very smooth. It made some beautiful patterns, pouring them in through a funnel and then using her finger to create the shapes. And I think so schools that might be interested in doing that would be well placed to do that. I've got one final question for you, Veena, before we bring the session to an end today, and that is an interesting question which a group of children have put to us, that said, in India, are most of the people Hindu, or are there other religions that are practiced in across India?
You know, it's really interesting the question you said, because what's the interesting part is in India, in fact, that's my husband and I were just talking. He said, you know, it's strange here, we don't in the UK. It's there. People get time off for Eid, they get time off for Diwali and Hindu festival, and they get time off for Christmas. So everyone celebrates everything there. And people and the schools get time off for each of those for all the festivals, so not just one. So they're off for Easter, they're off for Christmas, they're off for Eid, or they'll be off for Diwali and the other sort of festival. Yeah, and there is a mixture of all sorts of people there. So when I take schools to India, we visit the synagogue, we visit the church, and we visit Indian Hindu temple, and we visit the mosque. So they all exist side by side. But the other interesting part is that nobody really even questions what's this or what's that. So even though people go into it, celebrate Diwali because they know it's Diwali. and they celebrate Christmas. And same with when it's Christmas, lots of Hindus will say, "Oh, it's Christmas," and they'll go through some of the churches. They may not go to church, but in their homes they're saying it's Christmas, and that's happening. So people do celebrate, and I think, of course, naturally in India, the largest numbers are Hindus, and then after that would probably be the Muslim community, and then we have a lot of Christians, because you remember that the British lived in India for a long time, but alongside that, the Portuguese, the French, etc. Also, a lot of people down south, particularly, are Christians. And it's interesting that even in one family, you might have one sister that's Christian and another sister who's a Hindu, but they're all living together. And I find that always fascinating, that people of different faiths are living together in one community with each other as neighbours, and yet being able to celebrate each other's and respect each other's festivals, which I think is the whole, I think that's the whole important part of all, is being able to respect others and celebrate with them and be happy with them and share their joy with them. I think that's the most important thing.
You've thrown open lots of questions through that little presentation there, Veena. We have a number of questions all asking the same thing. Does this mean that Maya gets Christmas presents as well as presents for Diwali?
She does. She does, and that's what we say with the wonder she loves all of it. She's nothing she's going to get tomorrow. And then, of course, it's only, and it's, because it's only a month later, it's going to be Christmas in December. And then she has a Christmas, but she doesn't realise that she thinks Santa's some, so she thinks they're all that from Santa.
Okay, listen, thank you so much for giving your time today. Apologies to some of the schools who haven't been able to have all of their questions answered. Thanks to those who were able to send them via email instead of using our chat facility here today. Hello, Maya, in the background there. But we really, really appreciate the time you've spent with us away from your.
Happy Diwali to all the children in school. And Happy Diwali!
And happy Diwali to you too, Maya, and happy Diwali to you, Veena, to Chris, and to all of
to everybody, all the young.
So thank you for taking your time today. Thank you everybody for joining us. If you have burning questions that you are not able to answer during the session, if you send me an email, we'll do our very best to have those questions answered by Veena for you. And remember the very kind offer that we can loan you some traditional clothing that you may want to have as a dress up in school. And if you drop me an email, we can try to arrange that in the weeks ahead. So we're wishing you a very happy Diwali for all of your family that has gathered around you today, Veena, and look forward to working with you in the months and years ahead. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much as well. Thank you. All schools have a lovely, lovely time, and happy Diwali to you all. Hope you all have a lovely time in whatever you're doing in schools, and all the presentations you have in schools, and all the lovely ideas and everything that you're making in schools. So have a lovely time. Okay.